Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hi,
Hello,
Mike.
Karen,
Hi, Karen.
Gabriel.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome,
Welcome,
everybody.
everybody.
Great to see
Great to
Karen
see you.
here. Oh, more people.
There.
Excellent.
There.
How was everyone's travels back home?
Back home.
Mine was good. It was long,
It's
something like
long,
27
something like
hours, but
7 hours.
I made it.
And yeah, be nearly the same. It's, there are long trips, but uh, hello, Jennifer. Long trips made by Derek and me, but all what we lived in in that convocation deserves all the effort to those trips. And I I will take this opportunity to thank the hospitality of Gabriel, Jennifer, the founders, the amazing job of Freddie and Theo and the company of Genesis and Angela, Derek, and all the people that shared with us the Freedom Center, the in the neighborhood, really everything so nice. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it was such a pleasure, and was made richer by everyone's participation. And it's just an honor to have you guys there, and for the effort and time that you took to come and be with us, and the contributions. It was absolutely our best convocation, the best Seder, all of it, Joe, so super wonderful. And I don't expect Martine and Bina to join us today. It is their 42nd anniversary, and it was just Bina's birthday. And they are down in Tobago at a very interesting event, um, like a Caribbean space um, symposium. And maybe that's what it was called, something along those lines. So yeah, they are on the island of Tobago, with some interesting people discussing, the Caribbean and space from the Caribbean perspective. So good stuff. All right. Hey Sam, how are you doing? Good to see you.
Pretty good, Mr. Rothblatt. I'm glad to be here 2 consecutive times. That doesn't happen very often. So it just happens when it falls on a weekend, and I can always make it. But I'm glad to be here. I'm sorry I couldn't attend the Seder. I know those are the things taking place late last month, but I'm happy to be here today and just want to make the most of it. That's it.
Yay.
Lovely. Well, thank you. Yeah.
I have a question,
Yes,
Gabriel, if you don't mind me asking.
please.
So, this is pretty because you mentioned that Bina and Martina are down in Tobago right now. From your experience, are you finding that Caribbean cultures are becoming slowly more secular? Is that just out of curiosity?
That is an interesting question. And I don't have any hard data on the matter. I mean, I think everything is becoming more secular.
Hmm.
Um, and the Caribbean particularly has had some pretty strong religious ties, but particularly Catholicism. Um,
And Protestantism too.
yeah, yeah, and well, they're unlike the South Pacific,
Hmm.
the devastation of indigenous culture and population was much more thorough. Um, and so, you have much less connection with, ancestral kind of ideas. Um, you know, I I would say, yes. Um, uh, but I don't know if that's really to what degree specific at all to the Caribbean or just, everyone's um, you know, uh, everyone's, moving to a more secular, place.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. Well, the reason I'm asking too is I had met someone. This is going back, I want to say like 6, 7 years ago, who's from Trinidad, which is attached to Tobago. They're
Yes.
the island country. And he had told me he's actually a scientist based in Central Florida, and he had told me that from what he understood that the younger generation of Trinidadians were becoming less because they so for example, I don't know how much you know about Trinidad as a country, but they have a large population that's descended from India,
Yes. Yeah.
and a lot of them are Hindu or Buddhist or Muslim. And then you have the Afro-Caribbean population that's primarily Christian, whether they're Anglican or Protestant, Catholic, what have you. And then there's also a large Orisha movement, from which is a traditional religion from places like Nigeria, um, West Africa for the most part. So you have a hodge, and also there is also a relatively large Jewish population there that people don't know about. So it's a hodgepodge of different religions and, that sort of thing. And I think that can definitely be a breeding ground for something that's a little bit more secular. So,
Yeah, that is a good point. That is a good point as well with the changing populations and and groups and influences. I know some people here in Florida um who, and I've noticed this, I think that a significant amount of the people from Trinidad and Tobago, appear more Indian
mhm,
than otherwise you would assume from the Caribbean. um, and that as we move more and more into these times, we get more influences from other places, increasingly Chinese, particularly in Cuba, but as other places and groups in the world interact with trade more, become more affluent, start buying up property, real estate, moving in places, that you see more and more um, of that, and detaching from older influences or reattaching to some influences. That all drives that.
mhm,
um it's also, because they're islands and they can be so unique and distinct,
mhm.
and um, that they're not, I think, tied up in continental culture
Yeah,
in the same way that other places are. So fascinating place for each island to take on its own, vibes and changes. And
personality, more or less.
yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, I think one thing that, that is representative of this and that we'll see is what's happening with Haiti. Um, and how this problems in Haiti will spill over to other islands, already is, and redefine perhaps the entire islands makeup and culture moving forward. So it's very fascinating. But
Sorry, we went off on a tangent there. I apologize.
no, it's good. It's a great tangent, and I appreciate it. You know, we here are on an island, not quite the Caribbean, but don't tell Ruben's wife. Because Ruben had to get his feet in the water. But technically this is South Atlantic, or yeah, not quite the Caribbean here. Yeah, awesome. Well, let's hear from Javen. Are you back in the States, or are you down in Costa Rica? What's going on?
I'm in the States. I was in Dominican Republic, total of probably like almost 3.5 weeks. One trip in December, and then another one just a couple weeks ago. Working on med tech down there with a Holmes Hospital, which is the largest hospital in the Caribbean and has the best like intensive care capabilities and stuff like that. And we're working with the new director of the wellness center there. So we're bringing functional and regenerative medicine to Dominican Republic, and then we've got a publicly traded company called Ken's. It's a penny stock that's a patient gathering funnel to send medical tourists to the DR, and then a number, like anywhere in the world, they want to go for medical tourism. But we've seen a lot of these things, and it's hard to do, and there's a lot of bad medical tourism, and people getting infected in Mexico, and and just getting scammed, getting sold like a batch of stem cells that we can get for $2,000 for like $30,000. And it's like, it's going to cure everything. And these, preys on people's hopes. So there's that whole balance. So we're trying to stick to the good stuff. But I'm all excited about Caribbean. And I showed you my Sea Explorer 60 yacht idea. So I have a concept of getting these really nice, big, like, 180-foot yachts and making them floating medical ships, and we can sell them to high net worth people. But also I want to team up with Southern Command and the Defense Department and get integrated into that, because it's like the shit is sort of hitting the fan worldwide, and like it or not, we've got to, I don't want to be like gung-ho pro like military fight, but we do have to get organized and defend ourselves. So that's another thing I see in this Caribbean discussion, which I love, because Caribbean is great. And in answer to the secular question, I mean, Dominican Republic is full on Catholic and Jewish at the same time. So the odd thing is, I don't know if anyone read that In the Time of the Butterflies about Trujillo, but he was kind of like a, he
was a statesman, right?
What?
The city of Santo Domingo was formerly known as Ciudad Trujillo. He was a statesman for DR, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, no, he was the presidente, as
Okay.
the president, and so the DR has a long history of like fighting the Haitians because they were taken over. So it was a big thing where they drove the Haitians out, and so Trujillo was not a kind guy to the Haitians. So he was like, doing the genocide thing and killing Black people like right and left. But then on the other hand, he was like, hey, all you Jews who are being persecuted in, during the 30s in Germany, he's like, hey, come to the DR. So there was a diaspora of Jewish settlement, and it's still there. There are a lot of people in the DR who grew up speaking German, and they're mixed, so they're like Catholics and Jews. So there's kind of that interesting mix. And Trujillo put them to work, was like, okay, if you're engineers and scientists and this kind of thing, come and build our infrastructure. So that got the DR going. Now, on the other hand, you've got Haiti, which is like sliding into absolute anarchy. I mean, it's already slid into anarchy. It's like freaking out of control. And you see, some of the Haitians have gotten out, and they're in the DR working and stuff like that. But a lot of people are just sort of out on the street scrapping around. So that's like a major destabilizing thing right now. So I think it behooves us to just think about the having good relations with Southern Command, which unifies all the Defense Department US operations all the way down to like, well, all of South America, but really they're very active, to the Guianas. The Caribbean area is kind of its own thing. And especially in the Guianas are on, right next to Venezuela, they're not Latin. They're like Trinidad, Tobago.
French, Dutch, and British. They're French,
It's
Dutch, and British. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like its own. So the whole Caribbean is its own country. So I don't want to, completely, blab all day long because I could talk about this a lot with you guys. But I'm also met Chief Black Fox of the Dakota Sioux Nation, who is an activist, and he's lobbying for United First Nations that would have a seat at the UN and represent First Nations, at least in the Americas. But, there's no reason why can't go to all kinds of indigenous areas all over the world, because these nations have existed much longer than the nation states that were, the result of power grabs and imperialism and carving up Africa and all that crap. So he's very cool. I love him. He's a desired like speaker at a lot of big events and things like that. He's also good friends with Brock Pierce, who's a crypto billionaire who ran for president in 2020. So I'm scoping out Brock and I've met a few other of his friends. And so I'm going to start like pitching him some stuff on, my Orbita projects, which involve space medicine, the medical boats, and primarily healthcare. And then lastly, Chief has a bad leg wound from getting contaminated with fiberglass as a young man, a construction worker. And I have a lot of wound care technology, so we're working hard to try to save his leg, but preserve his leg. He's got troublesome wounds, and it's in danger. And then that's another thing I'm focused on is diabetes care, wound care, and in Trinidad, the diabetes rate is crazy. I know for sure. And amongst the First Nations in the United States, diabetes rate is 2 times that of the national average. And black people in the U.S. have a much higher rate, and then people in the Mideast have twice the diabetes rate as anywhere else in the world. So anyway, we're trying to save the world through healthcare and medical.
Beautiful.
If we can.
Yeah. Lots of fascinating things, and I think the Caribbean islands and their cultures, and islands in general, it's about as close to a playground for interplanetary relations. These islands that, the distance, between the different topographies or whatnot are all just models for what could come. Excellent. I see Martin Bina did join us. Didn't hear, well, you're muted now, but the sound wasn't working. I'm gonna go to Karen though and check in, see you're happy, smiling. So hopefully everything is doing and feeling well.
Thank you so very much. I did kind of have a frantic rush in here at the beginning, but I love coming to this group and getting to know these people. Coming once a month, I'm feeling more and more like I know them, and I just like being with this group. You've done such a great job of bringing cool people together. Actually, I'll be in the Miami area in July for that Global Cryonics Summit. Have you heard about that? Yeah, so that should be pretty.
I'm hoping to go to that.
Oh, great. So will you be there, Gabriel?
I was not yet on my calendar, but please, share it, the dates with me. It's probably, somewhere amongst a million things to do. But Yeah, that sounds great. July in Miami sounds counterintuitive for a cryonics conference, but
Yeah,
July
but it's the
20th and
biggest challenge.
21st. It's July 2021, and one of my teens and 20s, Daniel, is actually coordinating it from Cryosphere, and several groups are coordinating with it, working with it. So it'll be fun. And Gabriel, I'm still hoping you come as a guest to the teens and 20s in September. You're invited.
yes, I would love to. It's never worked out for me before to attend that. And so I would absolutely love to engage with that group of people. And so thank you for that extension, and looking forward to taking you up on it.
I hope
Um,
so, because it'd be so good for the teens and 20s to get to know you and what you're doing with Terasem.
yeah,
I'll
Which
put
I
in a
think-
plug for you too, Gabriel. I'm hoping to go to the teens and 20s like I
Yeah,
have for
Michael
many years.
Mike's a regular at the teens and 20s. He's a very valuable person. He's
absolutely.
most loving, caring person. He totally fits in with the idea of Terasem, which is why I love what Martine and Mina did, caring for all demons, everything.
Well, that's a good note to reference. One thing that came out of the convocation just now is that we added reference to forever for all into one section, excuse me, of the truths, where we're referencing some different ideas, and then who had authored them, excuse me. And so yeah, we were honored to be able to find a place to include reference to forever for all in the Truths of Terasem, as well as some other and major substantive changes throughout the truths. So very excited to have all of your participation, and likewise, it's a clear growing community that we have here, and we're just all blessed to be part of that. Jim, I see that you are online. You're welcome to chime in if you want to share anything here.
Just happy to be joining you guys. Still in the process of recovering from a little accident from last Sunday, but happy to be with you guys.
Yeah, sorry to hear about that. Thank you for joining us, Jim.
Yeah, of course.
Please, get well, and let us know how we can be of assistance here.
Will do. Thank you much.
Thank you. All right, Angela, anything you want to hop in here?
I'm not sure what to share. I've been in a whirlwind. I've been in California and Cuba and Florida and Kentucky and Virginia, and tomorrow I go back to California, and my life is just a blur. I have so many projects I'm working on too that are taking forever because I'm so busy, but I'm excited for criminal justice reform work projects. I'm trying to stand up the Modern Polymath Institute. I've met some really amazing polymathic geniuses, basically, who have come up with world-changing ideas to help with global warming and poverty and communications when satellite and internet go down, and like Aboriginal tribe efforts to maintain independence. And like, oh my God, I've met so many cool people working so many cool projects. But yeah, it's just dizzying. And I'm in mom mode right now, being interrupted by my 7-year-old who just got out of the shower. So yeah, I'm just chugging along, trying to keep going, juggling everything. I'm happy though, and I'm well. Thank
Where
you.
is Angela located? Angela, where are you located?
I'm near Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C.?
Yeah. Yeah. Where are you from?
Tucson, Arizona.
Okay. We're all over in this group.
Yeah. And a beautiful part of the realization, the early stages of Terasem, the taste of things to come, is our ability to be so connected across so many great places and eventually time as well. And, you know, this would have been really unimaginable to, you know, not that long ago, to be able to do it all, nonetheless, do regularly and feel as connected. You know, I think more and more of us have, you know, as evidenced by the convocation, you know, spent so much time and engaged and developed relationships with people who we actually never met. You know, and then you meet in person, but it's like you've known them all this time, and you know the relation is so deep. And so even in its early days of communication, it wasn't as rich as this has become. So it's a beautiful showing of how technology is you know, connecting us and creating this collective consciousness. So thank you. And thank you, Angela. You know, we also know that you've been developing a relationship with Kaya. We just got off a call with her and said that, you know, you guys have been, you know, connecting, communicating. And so it was beautiful to learn about more of your passions and your work, and just so quickly, you know, getting engaged and doing that. So I will say it's, you know, they say how orange is the new black, right? And it's truer, I think, in more ways, you know, than we think. That it's, you know, it's a stigma in itself. And those of us who have not, are not incarcerated, you know, there is, you know, a bit of our, you know, pride, security, or whatnot that we need to swallow to open ourselves to this group of people who, you know, have literally, you know, figuratively, actually, you know, been separated, alienated, re-enslaved. And, you know, that's not to say that people shouldn't, you know, account, you know, for their behaviors, but that's not a lot of why they're in there, you know. And we do need to understand that they are still people, and you know that we're not going to get closer and they're not going to get better if we don't continue to treat them with love, respect, and dignity, because that is really where the true behavior comes from. You know, the love behavior, the kindness, it comes from a place of dignity, of security. And many of them did not have that going in, and won't be successful unless they have it, you know, in there and getting out. So really want to appreciate your efforts, not just in polymathy and working with the clearly best and brightest, but understanding that even those, you know, incarcerated, you know, they have skills, they have love, and they are deserving of respect as well.
Exactly.
My expressions in that area is, and I've used it for decades, literally, the justice system is not about justice. And one of the conferences I attend annually is the Science of Consciousness. And there's so many things that affect people besides your genetics, your culture, your family, the time you're born, the condition, whether you're a child in a war zone, and all of these things affect you. And so, plus there's things that we imprison people for that
good moments and some good
that are
parts to
peaceful
it.
behavior, that are not, that they're not aggressing upon anybody, like the drug war, which is a crime in itself. So we most people incarcerated shouldn't be incarcerated in the first place.
Very true. Very true. Javen, I see your hand.
Yeah, one of my partners, Stephen Matsumoto, is a director of the it's the Asian Cultural Society in South Florida, and there was an event, the Asian Cultural Fest last weekend, One of the speakers was the new president of prisons for Miami-Dade County. She's I think she's African American. And she gave a really great speech, and she was like preaching to your choir, Gabe, about the way we treat people and in prisons and that kind of stuff. So if anyone wants to go on a riff on that, chat me up, or we can try to do that, because I've been thinking about trying to meet with her, but I want to sort of pull more people together, and like Chief Black Fox and sort of the Indian ways, and also know a lot of people doing ketamine clinics for PTSD and depression and things like that. So the medical treatments that we can use to help the prisoners is going to be big. So,
Angela, your daughter is so cute.
Can Lily say hi?
Absolutely.
oh,
Hi there.
You want to show your teeth? Check out her teeth.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah.
The last
Missing a couple.
This is 7 years old.
Well, I have something to share.
Let's check in. I guess we haven't checked. Did we get to everybody? Derek, you good trip back? Yeah, long trip for you.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, really long trip back. It was about 27 hours, and then I just moved into a new apartment yesterday. So, yeah, I'm just getting some rest.
That's a lot.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, Derek and I had a little, talking about incarceration on the way out, looking around here, and the United States, almost anywhere you are, is overrun with homeless population. And our answer for this increasingly is incarceration. And it's not that way everywhere. I mean, and we were talking about the difference in the apps in Russia versus, here in the States, and the approach, that they have in multiple areas to prevent these problems from happening. But in a place with as much affluence and whatnot as we have here, there is an absolute epidemic of mental health and homeless issues. It's every street corner, all over, tents and whatnot. So some real issues that we need to address here. Jennifer has a stack of universal truths here she would like us to pick from. So we're going to move to that next. Yeah.
All right. Well, I just want to sort of build off of what Karen and Gabriel said. It was amazing to see everybody at the convocation. We see you on screen, but seeing you in person and being able to hug you and like learn more about you was really a wonderful experience. And I think, building the community online and in person, and reaching out and saying, hey, I'm going to be in this place or at this conference, and getting small groups of us even together, I think will benefit the community and just make us feel more loving and more of a part of it. So I wanted to say that. And then the universal truth I picked for just now for today, for this month, is awakening. There is a sleeping dynamo inside, just wanting to be expressed. It is now the time to awaken the master within. We must arouse ourselves to co-create with the universe. Call upon the divine ego, which is the indwelling spirit. The Kabbalists believe there is a curtain that divides us from the 99% realm, the unlimited universal potential. Unveil the higher aspects and unleash the hidden power. The search for the higher power is always found within ourselves. Access the source of lasting fulfillment and endless joy, which is called the universal light. Remember, to be awakened is to be awesomely alive and aligned with the Almighty. So that's my check-in. Thank you, Gabriel.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, Bina Martine, any chime in from you?
Yeah. Yeah. Happy, Terasem Day of Freedom. So that's very important. Today is one of our 4 main annual holidays, maybe 5 annual holidays, including the 10th of the 10th graduation day. But it's been really interesting being in attendance at the Caribbean symposium on science and music on the island of Tobago. And we've had it's all really about freedom, so it's very timely. It's about, first of all, Caribbean peoples using science to achieve freedom from colonial powers and things like that, using music to achieve freedom from colonial brainwashing. We were honored to have performances by Melvin Gibbs, who is a Grammy Award winning bassist and played cosmic riffs on the bass, the likes of which I never even knew a bass could do that. He was absolutely, extraordinary. And then amazing saxophone playing, tenor sax playing by Stefan Alexander. Then also learned a whole new concept called liming. Basically, liming is when you just get together with a group of people and brainstorm, and usually in a very relaxing place, on the beach. And we were able to get some beach walk liming in. I was able to get some Caribbean ocean swimming liming in. Oftentimes, liming can be fueled by some Carib beer, which is that's the national beer of Trinidad and Tobago. Although it's got challengers, but I think Carib is the most popular. We had a lot of Trinidadian music, which is amazing, and kind of the birthplace of soca, and so that was very enlivening. There were also world famous astro physicist, theorist, Nobel Prize winning Robert Brandenburg. Really took us from how you could go, really how the universe can escape heat death and cold death, very much in sync with the truths of Terasem, and having entropy, outmaneuver entropy. And he took us through it all from a standpoint of physics. We had the Trinidadian president of UWI, the University of the West Indies. It's an amazing university. I don't know if I think it's based in Trinidad, but it has branches throughout the Caribbean. And she spoke about, the importance of education and a number of different things that were actually invented, and UWI graduates are really spread throughout the world at this point. So it's been an awesome day of freedom and a time of freedom, and it's just a really good way to roll in and roll out from the quadrennial convocation.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love hearing good news, because we're actually historically in a time with a lot of not good news. So it's always good to hear good news.
That's right.
Yeah. Anything extra, Bina, on that?
Nothing extra. No, we're running low on time, so you gotta get moving on.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thanks again, everybody here. And so we did have the convocation just this past week. I have completed the formatting updates to the truths. However, they are in need of a few more illustrations before going to new prints. And so I have not yet distributed them. So let's see here. I'm going to pull up my copy, share. And I've been wondering here is like, is it a time to restart where we read from, or just move on with the next section? As we have made some updates, and now being here in March, that means we are all the way up to 2. And so what I have gotten so far here is I've added illustrations, only the 6 top level illustrations for the Truths of Terasem. So this is what you are seeing here on the screen now. The 2 What is Terasem illustration. So as always, I'll read the first section and ask for volunteers to follow up as we move along. And we'll continue where we left off, just with some updates in this newest version of the Truths of Terasem. And so I shall begin. What is Terasem? Terasem is a trans religion that includes all religion the way a forest includes its trees. 2.1. Forest of Terasem means good lives are immortal and good faiths are welcome in cyber heaven. 2.1.1. Fundamental to every religion is the immortality of the soul, which in Terasem is our consciousness. 2.1.2. Afterlives differ for good and evil. Thus, Terasem knows a joyful immortality means only good lives. 2.1.3. Identity migration amongst physical substrates honors creation by continually bearing witness to its greatness. 2.1.4. Transferring identity to substrate is a matter of mannerisms, personality, recollections, feelings, beliefs, attitudes, and values. 2.1.5. Having multiple transferred identities for a single soul is just as joyous as having many children. 2.1.6. Souls will be reanimated via mindware and mind files because it is doable, respectful, and completes Terasem. Someone like to follow on 2.2?
I could do it if you want.
Yes, thank you.
Shall I do it?
Yes, please.
All right, let me see. Omniscience, omnipotence, and omnificence are what uniquely define God. Daily experience tells us nothing meets these 3 criteria today or historically. Earth's innocently suffering millions is proof that there is nothing omniscient, omnipotent, and omnificent today. Future technology will enable Terasem to encompass the multiverse, thus becoming omniscient, omnipotent, and omnificent. In this way, God is building Terasem with smart atoms and conscious electrons. Nanotechnology and geoethics are the tools for expanding Terasem into multiverse-wide omniscience, omnipotence, and omnificence. Expansion of Terasem is the purpose of life because this makes life good for all.
Another reader for 2.3?
I'll read it.
Okay, Angela. Oh, who was?
Okay, Ruben. Who do you want to read it?
Why don't you go, Karen, and then Ruben can take the next one.
Ritual observances, the way of Terasem, must be respected daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, and quadrennially. Religiously perform daily exercise, vitalogy, unite earth, work happily, author self, serenity, utope self, motivate, astro, sleep. Insist upon a sundown to sundown. I don't know what just happened. Insist upon a sundown to sundown Sabbath rest weekly. Sing love night. Read, exercise, sexercise, and transcendental meditation. Love night. Love night. Love is around. Love night. Love night. Here love can be found Terasem's, our source of strength. Forever we are one in the same. Love night. Love night. Love is all around. 10th of each month at 10 o'clock, gather for reading 30 sequential truths of Terasem. Understand better freedom, nature, obligation, and transcendence with ceremonies after each calendar quarter's third Satanga, respectively. Is this still part of it? Or is it?
You don't need to read the small print, so it's a 2.3.5.
Acknowledge the 10th of the 10th by reciting Truths of Terasem entirely and celebrating collective advances. Leap forward the 60th day of every leap year with a decision-making convocation concluding March 4th. Quadrennially, is that the part?
You don't need to read that. You don't need to read that smaller section. And what I have done here in this new formatting is the sections that don't need to be recited are in single space, and I've decreased the font to give them a bit more of a, signature difference from the sections that we do recite each time. So I'll come down to 2.4, and Ruben, if you could join.
2.4. Exclusively a trans religion is Terasem. So don't leave your religion, for there is no battle. Battle disbelief and battle discord, but do not battle the forest that protects us all. Adopt Terasem as your trans religion and you will experience the pool of joy immortality. Treat all kind religion and spirituality with respect, for they teach theism, individualism, solidarity, godness, afterlife, and Sabbath. Treat all great prophets with respect, for they were touched by the future Terasem. Links from the future Terasem to the past and present help to accelerate our progress. Expect not all religious leaders to understand Terasem, for shadows are created by light.
Thank you. And our last section for this month, 2.5.
Okay, I can read this one.
Yay.
Sacred is consciousness above all else, says Terasem. 2.5.1, sacred consciousness is respected by Terasem's commitment to diversity, unity, and joyful immortality. 2.5.2, anthopony, the philosophy that science will conquer death, is a basic Terasem belief. 2.5.3, commitment to diversity ensues the precious individuality of consciousness. 2.5.4, regulated unity gives us the strength to protect consciousness against the many forces of chaos. 2.5.5, eupsychic joy arises from the sacredness of consciousness, which forges an ethical society devoted to self-actualization. 2.5.6, distributed intelligence via individualization, and universal self-replicating systems honors the sacredness of consciousness with immortality.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, we got through that today. And, I'm noticing, so I just exported from the Drive Word document as a PDF. And I can tell that in that process, it's upset some of the formatting in here. And so I'll have to take a look at that again, particularly 2.4.3 was not like that in the last version. And I feel I saw someplace else where the formatting got messed up here. But another thought, just reviewing, the section that we're in here, is 2.1. And so I invite conversation around the, trans-religious universality of heaven, and whether that is something that can be rephrased or universalized in an idea that may be, less specific to one, chain of religious ideology.
I certainly prefer good people, but I would take the worst, what in each person's mind is the most bad or evil person. I would rather we find a method to help them become good than to have them be punished.
Yeah,
So
I strongly second that. And I think you could say the good people are the ones that will be immortal, but everybody's going to be a good person eventually. It'll take a while perhaps, but that's what I think. That's my hope anyway.
I think there's a reason behind everything. And when
That's
there's
right.
really bad people, I don't like their behavior, but I wonder, because I don't know what's going on in their head or
There's
what,
something up here that's out of
something,
line, and that's right. It's an understandable problem, I think.
yeah.
Yeah,
We all know what Putin's doing, Putin's doing in the world today, but I always wonder what made him like that. I don't know, but I sure wish there was a way to help him become a good person. I
yeah.
don't have the answer.
It's always probably, less simplistic than we would like it to be, and related to multiple factors. I think certainly, in some ways there is something that is going on, within the chemical and electrical process that, is misaligned, that needs help. Far more often, there's something in the environmental relationship, that is driving, that behavior. And so to look at, behavior that we don't understand, what is it, from their perspective, from their environment, from their sense of security, which drives them to, to feel this way or to act this way. So fascinating, and especially as it comes back and applies to conversations around things like incarceration, which are complex. Some of these people are there more of a reflection of us than of them, of the circumstances than of behaviors. And what is the role that that cryonics, can play in that. And I think it's very interesting, as I am now in the third book of the three body problem, a book that is called Death's End. And I am just finding, many parallels and a great ability of this book to illustrate some of the ideas of the future for people who may be, not aware or a little bit disconnected, and how it actually it explains cryonics very well, explains its science, and very interestingly, I am just coming to this point where it talks about cryonics as this attempt to escape death, but it utilizes it more in a way to travel space. And I think it's fascinating, but in that same time, there have been conversations about cryonics as a means of reforming incarcerated individuals. And so what we are doing with the prison state is very similar in many aspects, where we're essentially, waiting for them to become good through these, incarcerated, programs. And there are books, particularly, by Heinlein, that have, engaged, the imagination around cryonics and incarcerated individuals, as well as space travel, and other space settlements. It's fascinating concepts. So it just also struck me, we passed the 222 moment recently. That was also the day that a moon lander successfully touched the moon. And then just noticing here, I'd scrolled, and the Truth 222 was, happened to be where I ended front and center on this page, which itself, reminds us that, what we kind of have agreed of conception of God doesn't exist and can't exist as long as we have innocent suffering, which is our proof that it doesn't.
I can very easily sum my entire philosophy as peaceful tolerance with compassionate restraint. We need restraint to restrain some people because they aggress, they kill, they harm, they hurt, but it should be compassionate restraint. And the only people I think should be restrained are those who aggress in the true definition of aggression, all the things involved in aggression. And they need to be compassionately restrained if they truly aggress. But all peaceful behavior, whether we like it or not, needs to be peacefully tolerated.
Lovely, lovely. Well, we are just coming right to the top of the hour, so I am going to ask us to, synchronize our breath as we come into a conclusion, and take us out with a final thought. So take a moment here, roll out your neck, your shoulder, find yourself in a comfortable position, and then begin to focus on your breathing. Nice count of 4 to inhale in. 4 out. Again, in for 4 and a hold for 4. As you continue that breathing cycle, in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Hold again for 4. And inhale. Visualize who will receive your energy. Feel your own consciousness. Focus your consciousness into a shape. Send your shaped consciousness, conscious energy. See the energy settling into the recipient. Imagine the recipient strengthened. Direct pranic energy if it feels right. And with your last breath, peaceably evaporate the connection. And that closes us out for March 10th, 2024, Freedom Day. I thank you all for being here. I will open a separate session next for a Seder that we'll walk a read through for those who choose and are able to. Thank you again. I am you. You am I. We are one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.